Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is how I do a digital portrait in Adobe Illustrator. First and foremost, I just want to say that I originally saw a tutorial on this by a YouTuber and designer named Alice Thorpe. I learned this from her originally and then put my own spin on it. I use my MacBook for this instead of my iPad because they say the best tool is the one that you know, and I learned originally how to trace images and make illustrations that way using Adobe Illustrator rather than drawing on the iPad with Procreate. Also, this is vector completely versus on Procreate, it's not vectorized. So starting out, I take the pen tool and I outline all of her features. So it looks really weird at first and then it gets better, I promise. So I'm starting to pull in colors on a new layer. I copy the outline layer completely and then lock that so I can go back to it if I want to make any changes. And then I use the original image to grab different colors, but I play with them to kind of make them look good in a digital portrait kind of way. Then I go in and take the color of her hair and the color of her skin and I make a gradient to give her eyebrows a good fade. Then I go in and make the lines on her face less harsh by taking her skin color and making them slightly darker. Okay, going back to the eyes, I will go ahead and pull a color for the base of the eye that's not quite white. White would look way too scary. It needs to be slightly off-white. And then I pull a color from the actual eye to get a base for the, what is it called? The iris? Okay, it was the iris, I was right. So yeah, I pull from the original photo to get a foundation for the eye color, but then I end up, exaggerating it or saturating it a little bit more. Then I go ahead and change the stroke on the eyelashes and thicken them up to make them really pop. And what I like to do next is add more dimension to the iris by creating a round gradient. So, usually people have so much more depth to their eyes. They have a lot of different colors in there. So just choosing one flat color for an eye doesn't do it justice. So I like to usually do like a deeper color and then a lighter color and either use a linear gradient or a radial gradient to give it a realistic effect. Next, I'm going to go in and trace all of the natural highlights and lowlights that are on someone's face. This is kind of like digital contouring. Super fun, really enjoy it. And yeah, you just see where the lighting naturally hits someone's face. That's why it helps to work with a photo that already has decent lighting. Otherwise, you kind of have to create this from scratch, and you can totally do that, but if you're trying to get something that really nails a person's look, it helps to be as close to the photo as possible. So then for pretty much all of these, I do the same thing where I lower the opacity and I use an SVG filter on them to blur them out a little bit. This is such a fun, realistic effect to have on these. So I like to go in and adjust all of the different highlights and lowlights. Some need to, be darker, some need to be lighter. I just kind of base it on what, looks best and helps kind of define their face more. The mouth, I go in and just trace the lips. And then I sometimes draw each individual tooth, which sounds crazy, but it's not that hard. This one, she was looking in, a really distinct direction. So I didn't have like a solid straight on pupil. So I wanted to go back to the eye and correct the shape of the pupil so you could see she was looking in another direction. Going back to the lips, I like to use gradients all the time, but definitely here to add a little bit more color and a more natural looking lip. Then I use a gradient to soften the edges of the blush on her face and give her just a nice rosy glow. I ended up removing the chair that she's sitting on because I just wanted the imagery of her, and then I changed the color of all of her jewelry to more of like a rose gold, like that background she's sitting in front of. Next, I'm going to go in and add some definition to the hair. I'm going to create individual pieces with the pen tool. I do this on a different layer usually, and then I kind of create a palette of colors to draw from to create different layers and depth and things like that. Honestly, hair can be kind of challenging and it takes a while. Then I use the shape tool to delete different sections that fall out of that main piece of hair. Then I go with my gradient once again just to add definition to single strands of hair, kind of like a balayage effect. Finally, I'm going to go in and create a background. I drew inspiration from the literal backdrop in her image and wanted to create a cute little digital pattern that was like a simplified version of that. So I went ahead and created some shapes and made a little pattern. And I wanted it to be rose gold as well to kind of go with the warm theme of this whole thing. And here's the final. I like how it turned out, and Carly was pleased with it too, so that's all that really matters. Thanks for watching. These are so fun to make.